questions, comments, and concerns about the 1991 cinematic masterpiece that is Beauty and the Beast. Some of you strictly forbade me from doing this one, but I promise you, I love Beauty and the Beast. But there are some valid criticisms. Starting strong with the origin story, where the prince is confronted with a strange old woman with a radioactive flower at his front door, and he declines for her to come in. And she's like, "Surprise, idiot, I'm a hot witch, and now you're a beast. Forever." Unless you can convince somebody to love your beastly form. Okay, first of all, why is the prince answering his own door? That's suspicious. Also, how is it not cruel for the witch to then turn all of his employees, including children like Chip, into inanimate objects? That is very cruel. Straight out of the gate. Kind of messed up. Then apparently everybody in the village gets amnesia and they forget the castle exists, there is a prince, wiped from their memories. Then we meet Belle, who is my favorite Disney princess of the OG princesses because she's a bookish weirdo and same. However, we do open on this scene where she wanders around the village and just loudly talks shit about all of the villagers in song. And the villagers are like, "She's beautiful, a little weird, but she's beautiful." And she's like, "You guys are losers with absolutely no aspirations." She goes into the worst run bookstore of all time because he's lending her books, which then I'm like, is he creepy? Does he have a crush on her? Like, you're supposed to buy them, Belle. And the insinuation is that nobody else in the village reads. So how is he staying in business? We also meet Gaston, who is objectively the worst person in the world, and his best friend, who is clearly in love with him, LeFou. And Gaston is convinced that he needs to marry Belle, the one woman in the village who absolutely hates his guts. And I'm not sure why, because I don't even think he can read. She goes home to her lovably odd dad, Maurice, who's an inventor, and he wants to bring his honestly kind of overly complicated automatic wood chopping machine to a fair to get rich, I think. He gets lost on the way to the fair and breaks into the castle, which predictably makes the beast unhappy. So the beast imprisons Maurice instead of just telling him to leave, which is weird. And then Belle comes to save her dad because the horse comes back, whatever. And then she offers to take his place, which is also weird because why is he keeping prisoners? Castle is run by his cursed staff, which they seem very loyal to him. And if he is cruel and awful, I feel like they would be much more unhappy. But the strongest storyline in Beauty and the Beast is everyone has Stockholm Syndrome. Because at this point, the beast is objectively horrible. For instance, she stumbles across the rose and he ejects her from the castle. He's like, "Leave." So she tries to flee and subsequently almost gets murdered by a pack of wolves. And Philippe the horse is absolutely going through it in this film. Like, cannot catch a break. The beast obviously comes to save her, which is the least he can do, to be honest. However, returning to the castle gives us this glorious scene in which I think we figure out that Belle doesn't really love anybody. She loves books, which same. And an entire generation of kids developed an unreasonable expectation for home libraries. Also, during this time, they're trying to domesticate the beast, basically. And why? He's a prince. Why doesn't he have any manners? She does absolutely bean him in the face with a snowball, which is so satisfying. When Belle decides to stay, Beast gives her this magic mirror so that she can see her dad, which I don't know why her dad can't visit, but whatever. Maurice only knows Mean Beast, so he went home and went to the local tavern and is begging for people to help him, and they just call him crazy. He's like, "Fine, I'll save her myself," which is a terrible plan. He predictably gets hurt, and when Belle goes to check on him in the mirror, he's in the woods, like unconscious. So she finds him and takes him home and gets him in bed, and why she didn't stay here, nobody knows. And the townspeople, who again have collective amnesia because nobody seems to remember the castle that Maurice is talking about with the gone. They bring this absolute creepazoid to his door to take Maurice to an insane asylum. I think this is part of Gaston's plan to get Belle to marry him, which proves that he is an absolute moron. So she panics and tries to convince the townspeople that the beast is real and shows them the beast in the mirror. And they go absolutely feral and decide that they have to kill the beast, who they didn't know about and has never bothered anybody ever. They get to the castle and the beast is pouting because Belle left. So he lets all of his staff, who are living as inanimate objects, fight this psycho mob. But then Belle comes back and he cares again. So then he has to fight Gaston, and he could kill Gaston, but he lets him go. So Gaston tries to kill him, which ends poorly. The beast is also critically injured, and it's at this point which I think we are led to believe that the beast is going to pass. But it's at this exact moment when Belle is like, "Is bestiality that bad?" And he returns to the form of a super hot prince, which she didn't know, right? She was literally all in before she knew this was a possibility, which I have concerns about. And then everybody gets to return to their normal form, except presumably the people that were murdered during the battle. Who did they come back? Did they just whatever? And everybody kindly forgets that Belle was willing to engage in an interspecies romance. But I think what we all know is that she married him for that library.